Welcome to another Nora Finch video, Mental Readiness Coach here. And today I have been wanting to make this video for a very long time. Don't ask me why it's taken this long. But basically my other YouTube videos from the beginning talk about my upbringing and my support systems, but they don't talk about my actual upbringing with my parents. So I want to go into this right now today to share with you, and I'm going to condense it to keep your attention. It's pretty fascinating, but I also drew a little diagram to help us all, okay, in case any of you want to follow. The details really aren't important. I think it just provides for an interesting story, but you can basically see my life experience and then what that led up to from introvert to extrovert, and then also self-defense learning, not until actually the age of 35, both physical and verbal. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So my mom, which I found through that ancestry sort of thing. I always knew her to be Thai, but I actually found out in there she is from Thailand, and she also has Mongolian and Chinese and Iberian, whatever that is, that I tried to look up, and some other things in there. And then my dad is the Native American, Scottish, European side. Okay. So my mom in Thailand, basically the story handed down, because none of them keep records or do anything like that, is that when she was 2, basically both parents died of leprosy, and then she was raised by people in the community. And she had a couple of other siblings, or at least one sibling anyway, as far as I know. I think I met her once. Okay, so by the age of 19, she had 3 kids. So 2 boys and a girl. The second boy of which we found out that she had with a monk. And so that's an interesting part of the story too. Okay, so at age 19, she had the 3 kids, and she ended up meeting my dad there, who was in the army for 18 months. So they got together the first night and they started traveling around together. And during that time, she got knocked up with 4th child, number 4. And so when they came back to Sacramento, I don't know what was going on there. They were married for a while, actually for a very long time, but 8 years at least later, I was born. Okay, so I'm number 5. So in Sacramento, I don't know what happened. Actually, I do know what happened. This is also an important part of the story. So there's a lot of things in the Asian culture that are very beautiful, including having a kind, loving heart. And basically, my dad said that when she came to America, she started playing cards and gambling, and the local women told her how much money you can make off of a man from divorcing them. So he thinks that's where a lot of these influences and things started with her, which is very sad. And this kind of story kind of actually happened with wife number 3 of my dad. So not a gambling thing, but just American culture. So basically, so you can develop, I didn't know this, mental illness at a later age in life, but she already had all this sort of trauma and different things from her background, so I think it was just starting to come out and be more obvious to him, or maybe he didn't see it. So she come to be is a narcissist, and basically she started making up a lot of stories about my dad, which he would have tried to kill her if he could have gotten away with it. Seriously, he just didn't think anybody would be able, to take care of my brother and I. But anyway, she started making up lots of stories about him. The cops came, all that sort of a thing. So anyway, in exchange for, she said, give me the house, I'll give you the kids. So it was definitely not a peaceful split. So she ended up, after they divorced, or she ended up meeting my stepdad in the Air Force, and we were very close. So those are my 2 main influences, my stepdad in the Air Force, and then my dad. Okay, so we relocate to Pennsylvania / Baltimore, Maryland first. My dad starts working there, and he marries, okay, this is wife number 2, Filipino. Okay, and she was a very beautiful mom to me, and she had 2 kids. Okay, so speeding it up, during this time, I would visit my mom every summer, and I only really went for my stepdad because I really didn't like my mom. She was very not only manipulative and controlling and nagging, but she constantly rejected me because of my short hair, wanting to look, why you want to look like a boy. It was always like this because of my punk rockness, right? Okay, and she was always about being pretty. I mean, she had no education. I forgot to include that in there. She had no birth certificate, so she couldn't go to school. She had no education, so all she had was her looks. But she was always on me. Why don't you want to be pretty? Why don't you want to do this? Why don't you want to do that? And so that's why I look back being very angry at myself of not having any speak up skills, because I could just not tell her to stop saying these things to me. So that's a part of my story, okay, in there. And so during that time, the self-worth and the different issues, also why suicide is also a very sensitive subject to me, is during that time as well, my dad had his own issues and raising his kids, the two of us, which he did call me stupid all the time. So I did have those temporary suicidal thoughts or just wanting to run away. And then the issues that went on there with my brother having sociopathic behavioral challenges that I'll explain to you later in the next video. But so anyway, those things are going on there. So those, thank goodness, went away. Okay, so you can watch my other videos that talk about my support system during that time of music and the creative outlets. And so I just wanted to give you an idea of kind of what it was going on with my mom. I visited her every summer, but you know, in a way I hated it. I was like, why do I keep going back? And then, okay, so fast forward, I live in Pennsylvania till I'm about 19. And again, my survival mechanisms to survive not only the rejection from my mother and, you know, temporarily my father towards society, okay? And I never ended up doing any professional talk therapy training. Okay, so speeding it up to 19, I live there till I'm Pennsylvania, till I'm 19, and then I move around. I do live with my mom again temporarily in Illinois, but that doesn't last long, and that's for another story show. So let's go ahead and recap. And before we recap though, self-defense comes into my life about 35, and why that is such a big deal and why my journey is from introvert to extrovert is what I learned in self-defense. I knew, you know, who the person I was before and how much it helped me. So I felt helpless not only into physically defending myself if anything happened, but also mentally and emotionally. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm just going to class studies instructor. I hope you can see it, but I'm going to read it to you still, okay? So, mom and dad divorced. Okay, so mom, parents deceased at age 2, and then she has 3 kids by 19, okay? 2 boys and a girl, one with Monk. My dad ends up having with her, my brother and I, so we're 8 years apart. Okay, then they divorce. And this will come into play with the narcissism because I'm not sure that I'm going to go in my work path along this sort of issue, but my mentor, Richie Grannon, who I always talk about, specializes in narcissistic abuse. So there is something, even though I don't know if I'm going to call this abuse to me, I think it's emotional trauma. Okay, dad, remarried Filipino, 2 kids, and I lived in Pennsylvania to 19. And his use of calling me stupid all the time, that affected my worth. So I wrote down here, this is funny to be talking about this like this. Okay, that very constructively, my core challenges were feeling from parents and society, as you can see, is abandonment. Okay, abandonment, rejection. So this is a lot of us, okay, when I start talking about the soul's journey and things like that. This isn't like a brand new thing, just each person has a different area they're working on, but I feel like we all go through rejection, especially from society. That's for another show. Okay, abandonment and rejection, which leads to my low sense of self-worth. And then I mentioned before, helpless, not being assertive, and I had no speak-up skills, okay? So this is where I'm talking about introvert, going from introvert to extrovert. Number 3, this list goes longer, but I'm just trying to give you like the mains. No sense of belonging. And then as a result of all of this, because of in my town, you know, not relating to my peers there and not fitting in the music that I liked and dressing different, okay? So no sense of belonging. So my support system went into my music. And then I talked about self-defense. And what does this mean for me to help you? Is that, yes, I can help everybody as a mental readiness coach. However, I am wanting to specialize in first responders because you give back so much to us. And so I just wanted to give you a glimpse into my experience, my personal experience, and also a part of what I do is storytelling in the way that I am sharing or teaching, whatever you want to call it, is storytelling and sharing my before, after, and my before mindset and my after mindset. And I like to give a lot of examples, and I don't do it in a lot of my videos. I think I do it here and there, but I will be doing it in the next one. So I will see you in the next video. My contact is Nora at rockyourlifewithnorafinch.com, and I hope that provided some entertainment there for you. But now you know a little bit more about me and why I'm so passionate about helping empower others and my journey from becoming an introvert to an extrovert. And two of the other things that helped me immensely was all the different types of music I've listened to and food that I've tried out there. Okay, so I highly recommend those ways to open up your mind, even though a lot of you may not necessarily want to do that because of the change, but that's a fun way to do it anyway. Okay, so see you in the next video.